I remember the exact second the laughter turned on me. We were halfway through dinner, everyone talking over each other like usual, wine flowing, plates clinking. My mum was in her element. My dad had that tired but content look he gets when the house is full, and my younger brother Luke was sat there with his arm draped around his new girlfriend like he'd just won the lottery. They were all laughing. At me. Proper, red-faced, can't-catch-their-breath laughing. And at the head of the table, with her perfect hair and perfect nails and perfect little smirk, was Zoe, the girl who started it. They thought I was quiet because I was embarrassed. I was quiet because I was counting. Every little dig, every fake compliment, every lie she'd told in front of my family. And I was thinking about the folder on my laptop upstairs. The one full of screenshots, court records, and messages that could blow up her entire fake life in 10 minutes. By dessert, they weren't laughing anymore. But I'll start at the beginning. My name's Emma. I'm 31. I live just outside Manchester, and I'm an accountant. I know. Exciting. I do audits, spreadsheets, the stuff everyone else finds boring. But it means I understand one thing very, very well. If you follow the money and the patterns, people's stories start to fall apart. I'm also divorced. My ex-husband, Jason, cheated on me after 5 years of marriage, ran up secret credit card bills on gambling and business trips, and left me with a pile of debt and a mother who asked if I'd maybe focused a bit too much on my career. The worst part? Jason sat at that same table, in that same dining room, and cried in front of my parents about how lonely he'd felt. My mum, Carol, patted his arm and said, "We all make mistakes, love," while I sat there feeling like I was going mad. So when I talk about betrayal, I'm not being dramatic. I've lived it. After the divorce, I promised myself 2 things. 1, I would never ignore my instincts again. 2, if anyone tried to humiliate me in that house, at that table, I would be ready. Enter Zoe. The first time I met her, it was a Saturday afternoon, drizzle on the windows, nothing special. Luke rang me in the morning. "You in?" he asked. "I want you to meet someone." "You're bringing a girl to my flat?" I said. "Must be serious." He laughed. "Just be nice, Em. You'll love her. She's different." He always says that. Different. Not like the others. But there was something in his voice this time. Softer. Hopeful. "All right," I said. "I'll put the kettle on." When I opened the door, I understood why my mum had already fallen in love with her from one photo. Zoe was the exact type my mum imagines when she says, a proper girl. Long, dark hair in waves, makeup that looked effortless but definitely wasn't. Little designer bag, tight jeans, ankle boots, the whole Instagram package. She smelled like expensive perfume and something sharp underneath, like metal. "Emma," she said, like we were old friends. "I've heard so much about you." "Good things, I hope," I said, stepping aside. "Come in." Luke hugged me with one arm, clinging to her with the other. He did that thing where he looked between us, waiting for some kind of approval. We sat in my tiny living room. I made tea. They told me the how we met story. According to them, it was cute and spontaneous. He was out for drinks with colleagues in town. She was out with friends. They bumped into each other at the bar. He made some awful pun about her drink. She laughed, and that was it. "Fate," she said, leaning into his side. I smiled. "And what do you do, Zoe?" "I'm in social media," she said. "Influencer marketing, content creation, that kind of thing. I run campaigns for lifestyle brands. It's all a bit mad, really." "Self-employed?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "I've got my own little agency, Heart & Co. I basically built it from nothing. Girl boss story and all that." She laughed. "What about you?" she added, with that tone people use when they already know the answer. "Luke says you're like crazy good with numbers." "I'm an accountant," I said. "Audit." She pulled a face. "Oh my God, I could never. I'd die in an office. I'm such a people person. Numbers just, ugh." She did this little shiver that made Luke laugh. I smiled. Yeah, it's not for everyone, but it pays the bills. We chatted for another half hour. She was funny, I'll give her that. Quick with stories, the kind of girl who's good at making everything about her sound exciting. Then Luke went to the bathroom, and the air in the room changed so fast it made my head spin. So, she said, casually crossing her legs, eyes flicking around my flat. Cute place, very cozy. Thanks, I said. Are you renting? She asked, nodding at the door. Luke said you've been here a while. Yeah, I said. I like it. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You ever think about buying? I mean, with your job, you could easily get a mortgage, right? It just seems a shame to be paying someone else's mortgage forever. I told Luke, when we level up, first thing is we're getting on the ladder. No more renting. We. I swallowed. There was no way she knew my whole financial history, but it still stung. I used to have a deposit saved. Jason and I had a plan. Then I found his secret gambling, and half my savings went to closing his accounts so the debt collectors wouldn't start banging on my door. I'd gone back to square one. I've had a few setbacks, I said evenly. I'm rebuilding, one step at a time. Of course, she said, like she was being understanding. I totally get it. I had to build from scratch too. It's just, with your brain, you could be so much further ahead. She said it kindly, on the surface. But I've lived a lifetime of comments like that. There's always something under them if you listen. Before I could respond, Luke came back, flopped down, wrapped his arm around her. She gave me this sweet smile, like nothing had just happened. That was my first real red flag. The second came online. A week later, I was scrolling through Instagram in bed when Zoe's stories popped up. Rooftop bar, cocktails, client meeting vibes. I clicked through, half bored. Then I tapped onto one of her old tagged photos and my blood ran cold. She was in London, at some birthday party, 3 years ago. Arms around a group of people, all champagne and glitter. I zoomed in without thinking. On the edge of the group, close enough to be in the inner circle, was Jason, my ex-husband. Same stupid grin, same shirt he'd claimed was too expensive for dinner with your parents. He had his arm around some blonde I didn't recognize. But he was there, in Zoe's world, 3 years ago. My stomach twisted. I clicked through more tagged photos. There he was again, at some rooftop bar in Shoreditch. Different night. Zoe in the middle, Jason at the side, drink in hand. So when she turned up in my brother's life out of nowhere, she hadn't come from nowhere at all. We had moved in completely different circles back then. Me at home, doing overtime, cleaning the house, Jason in hotels and bars and client events. I never asked too many questions. I trusted him. Apparently, while I was budgeting our food shop and making sure the bills were paid, he was out there clinking glasses with this girl and her beautiful friends, all of them building whatever fake little world they were living in. I didn't sleep much that night. The next family dinner was 2 weeks later. Mom rang me to remind me 3 times. Don't be late, Emma. And wear something nice. Zoe always looks so put together. She makes an effort. Translation. Please don't show up in jeans and a jumper like you usually do. So I tried. I put on a dark green dress that actually fits me properly, did my makeup, straightened my hair. I looked in the mirror and thought, okay, not a total disaster. When I walked into my parents' semi-detached, Zoe was already there, perched on one of the breakfast bar stools like a magazine advert. Cream blouse, delicate necklace, blow-dry that definitely cost more than my weekly shop. Em, Luke said, standing up to hug me. You look nice. Mom, wiping her hands on a tea towel, glanced over. Oh yes, that's lovely, she said. You should wear that color more. Very slimming. Zoe gave me that smile again. Gorgeous, she said. You've got such good bone structure. We just need to update your wardrobe and you'd be unstoppable. I forced a laugh. I'll put that on my to-do list. We sat down to eat. Roast chicken, veg, gravy. Same as always. At first it was fine. Talk about work, the weather, my dad's back pain. Zoe told another long story about a collab she was doing with a luxury skincare brand. What's it called? I asked. She blinked. Sorry? The brand, I said. Which one? Oh, she said, waving her fork. You wouldn't know it. Very niche, Scandinavian. I filed that away. Then Mum, who has never had an internal thought in her life, said, Zoe, love, you should take Emma shopping one day. She's so sensible, she never buys anything fun. You've got such an eye for fashion. Zoe lit up. I would love that, she said. Then she turned to me, eyes moving over my dress. We could do a proper makeover. Get you some pieces that really flatter your shape, you know? Show off what you've got. You've got great curves. We just need to stop hiding them in cardigans. Luke choked on his potatoes. Babe? What? She said, laughing. I mean it as a compliment. I'm boosting her. Don't you want to feel hot, Emma? I felt my cheeks burning. My fork suddenly seemed very interesting. I'm fine, I said lightly, but thanks. It didn't stop there. So, Emma, she said sweetly during dessert, Luke said your divorce came through last year. That must have been rough. I stiffened. I had never talked to her about the details. I didn't like telling strangers that my husband had cheated and gambled away our savings. Something like that, I said. I think it's so inspiring, she went on, all earnest, that you're just like doing your thing. Some women can't handle being alone. They jump to the next guy. But you're comfortable in your own company. Mum tutted. Well, let's not celebrate being alone too much. She's only 31. Still time to find someone proper. Zoe laughed. True, true. Maybe an accountant this time so he understands spreadsheets and won't run off with another woman. She giggled, and Mum actually laughed with her. I stared at them. My mum, laughing with this girl about the worst thing that ever happened to me. In front of my dad, who just stared down at his plate, something in me went very, very cold. I pushed my food around my bowl and smiled when people looked at me, and inside I thought about that photo of Zoe and Jason in London, about how my brother had no idea. That's when I decided I wasn't going to let this slide. That night, when I got home to my quiet little flat, I rang Maya. She picked up like she'd been waiting with the phone in her hand. Right, she said. Tell me what they did. I laughed, but it came out shaky. Hi to you too. That tone is, Mum said something awful and a stranger joined in, she said. Go on, I told her. About the makeover comments, about the divorce comments, about my mom laughing, about the London photos with Jason. By the time I finished, my heart was pounding again. So she definitely knew him, Maya said. And even if she didn't clock who you were at first, she knows now. She's checked your socials, guaranteed. She acts like she's doing me a favor by insulting me, I said. And Mom just lets her. That's because your mom is dazzled, Maya said. Pretty girl, fancy clothes, exciting job title, it ticks all her boxes. And your brother's in love, so he's ignoring things. Classic. I rubbed my eyes. Am I overreacting? Like, maybe it's just her sense of humor. No, she said flatly. You're not. That kind of banter is about power. She's testing how much she can get away with. And your mom laughing was your answer. Quite a lot. So what do? I asked. You do what you do at work, Maya said. You audit her, properly. I sighed. I can't just ask her for her bank statements. Not money, she said. Her story, her job, her past, her online presence. You already know she has links with Jason. That is not a good sign. You dig until you know exactly who you're dealing with. And then you decide how to handle it. Feels a bit stalkerish, I said. It's defensive, she replied. She's already using your worst moment as a punchline at Sunday dinner. She's earned some background checks. So that's what I did. By day, I went to my office, did my spreadsheets, drank my tea. By night, I opened a new folder on my laptop and typed one word in caps. Zoe. I started with her supposed agency. She'd told us it was called Hart & Co. Marketing. I searched company's house. Nothing. No Hart & Co. with her name on it. No Zoe Carter anywhere. Okay, I thought. Maybe she's self-employed under a different trading name. I checked LinkedIn. There she was. Senior brand consultant at Hart Media. No logo, no company page. Just a list of vague responsibilities. Strategy. Content. Client relations. Weird, but not illegal. Then I searched her handle on Twitter. The current account was clean. Inspirational quotes, retweets of brands, nothing interesting. But there was an old account, under a slightly different name, with the same profile pic from years ago. That one was messier. Complaints about idiot clients, moaning about dumb investors, jokes about old men thinking I'm their retirement plan. My shoulders went tense. Next, I went deeper. I typed Zoe Carter scam into Google. Nothing. Zoe Hart Marketing London. Nothing solid. It was like she'd wiped half her history. That's when Maya stepped in. I asked around at work, she said over coffee one afternoon. Without naming names. We have access to some civil case databases. Guess what popped up when I searched her old username? My stomach lurched. What? A case from London, 2 and a bit years ago, she said. Plaintiff, 60-something bloke. Defendant, Zeed Hart, also known as Zoe James. Claim, misrepresentation and fraud. I stared. Fraud. Yeah, she said. He says she convinced him to invest in her agency, promised big returns, showed him fake forecasts, then disappeared. He sued. They settled out of court. My head was buzzing. Can you send me anything? I can send you the public summary, she said. That's all I'm allowed. But it's enough. Emails where she calls him her partner, talk of sharing the future. Then suddenly she's accusing him of being obsessed when he asks for his money back. I sat on my bed that night reading those pages on my laptop, hands shaking. The language was so familiar. Babe, we're building something together. Trust me. Then, when he pushed, you're making me feel unsafe. You're scaring me. Classic flip. I felt sick and vindicated at the same time. If she'd done this before, what exactly was she planning with my family? The answer came a week later, in the worst way. I was at home on a Friday night, Netflix on in the background, when my phone buzzed. Luke. Hey, I said. What's up? Quick question, he said, sounding breezy in that way that meant he was hiding something. Do you think Dad would ever go for investing in, like, a business idea? Alarm bells. What kind of business idea? Zoe's got this opportunity, he said. She's been approached to take on a big client, but she needs some upfront capital to hire a small team. It's a guaranteed return, Em. She showed me the numbers. I closed my eyes. How much? Like 20 grand, he said. Maybe 30 if we want a bigger slice. We, I repeated. Who's we? He hesitated. Well, me, and maybe Mom and Dad if they're up for it. Zoe said it could help them in retirement, you know, make their money work. My hands went cold. Luke, I said carefully, you cannot ask them for that kind of money. They do not have it to spare. They've got savings, he said, and Dad's pension. For their old age, I said, not for your girlfriend's agency. He went quiet. You don't know it's dodgy. I know there's a court document in London with her name on it where she did this exact thing to someone else, I snapped. Silence. What are you talking about? He said finally. I exhaled. I hadn't meant to blurt it out like that. I'd planned to wait, gather more, find the right moment. But the idea of her touching my parents' savings snapped something in me. Come over tomorrow, I said. Please, I'll show you everything. He came. He sat on my sofa, same as Zoe had, but instead of scanning the furniture, he scanned my face. This better not be you being overprotective, he said. I really like her, Em. I know you do, I said. That's why I waited before saying anything. I wanted to be sure. I opened the Zoe folder, showed him the court summary, the emails. The fact she'd used almost the same phrases with this older man as she'd used with him about building a future. He read in silence, his jaw clenched tighter with every page. Then I showed him the London photos with Jason. "You knew," he said, voice low. "You knew they moved in the same circles." "I didn't know what it meant at first," I said. "But then I saw this." I pulled up the screenshot I hadn't shown anyone yet. Jason's WhatsApp status from 2 weeks ago. A hotel bar in London. 2 champagne glasses clinking. Caption, "Back in business. Couldn't do it without my girl." One of the hands in the photo had a small tattoo on the wrist. A tiny outline of a star. Zoe had the exact same tattoo. I'd seen it 100 times when she reached for the salt. "That could be anyone," Luke said weakly. "It could," I agreed. But he changed his settings an hour later, removed the status. Guilty people panic. He rubbed his face. "She told me she doesn't talk to anyone from back then," he muttered. "Said London was toxic. That's the word she used." "Luke," I said gently, "I think she's working with him. Or at least, they're aligned. She sees you as her way into this house, into Mom and Dad's money, into a safe future. And Jason? He wants money again. He always wants money." My dad had quietly lent Jason $5,000 after the divorce. Jason had promised to pay it back in 6 months. It never came. Luke stared at the evidence, then at me. His face had gone pale. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked. "Why didn't you say something the first time you suspected?" "Because I knew exactly what would happen," I said. "You'd say I was jealous, or paranoid because of Jason, or that I just don't like sharing you, and I wasn't sure. Suspicion isn't enough." "And now you're sure," he said flatly. "Now I have patterns," I said. "Court records, photos, that status, her trying to get Dad's money. I can't unsee it." He put his head in his hands for a second. "I feel sick," he said. I've been thinking about proposing." I swallowed. I'd guessed that, the way he talked about her. The Pinterest wedding board I'd accidentally seen on his laptop at Christmas. "And Mum's birthday dinner is in 2 weeks, he went on. "She wanted to do something special. I thought, maybe then." We were quiet for a moment, just the hum of my fridge filling the room. "What do you want to do?" I asked softly. He sat up, eyes bloodshot. "I want to believe you're wrong," he said. "I want to think this is one big misunderstanding, but I know Jason," he said, "and I know he'd absolutely help someone rinse us if he thought there was something in it for him. And I know I've ignored red flags before because it felt good." He stared at the laptop again. "Who's this bloke?" he asked, tapping the screen on Richard's name. "The man she scammed," I said. "He lives in London. I reached out to him." He replied. "You spoke to him?" Luke said, shocked. "Yeah," I said. "He lost 50 grand to her. You sound like him, you know, full of excuses at first, full of reasons why she was the exception. He's willing to talk." Luke leaned back, exhaled. "This is mad," he said. "You're asking me to blow up my whole relationship on your word and some PDFs." "I'm not asking you to do anything," I said. "I'm showing you what I've found. What you do with it is up to you. But if you want, I can ask Richard to come up for Mum's dinner." Luke stared at me. "Tonight, you're suggesting I invite a stranger to Mum's birthday to publicly accuse my girlfriend of fraud." "She's already trying to get Dad's money," I said. "She's already laughing at me at that table. How long before she starts on you? Before she isolates you from us completely? Before she's on the house deeds?" He winced. I dropped my voice. "You know, Mum, if I take her aside quietly, she'll go straight to Zoe, ask her nicely, get some teary performance about being misunderstood, and I'll be the villain. If she hears it in front of everyone, with documents and a victim, and you backing me, she has to listen." He looked down at his hands, then up at me. "Ask him to come," he said quietly. If I'm wrong about her, I'd rather find out now than after I've put a ring on her finger. So that's how we ended up at that birthday dinner. All of us around the table. Mum glowing, Dad smiling weakly, Luke restless, me with my heart in my throat, and Richard sitting politely at the end, clutching a bottle of supermarket wine with shaking hands. Mom had assumed he was my date. You should have told us, she'd whispered in the kitchen, excited. We'd have got the good glasses out. It's not like that, I'd said. He's a friend. Zoe arrived late, of course, fashionably. She swanned in wearing a red dress that probably had its own Instagram account, kissed my mum on the cheek, my dad on the forehead, and my brother full on the mouth, right there in front of everyone. Happy birthday, Carol, she trilled. You look amazing. 60 is the new 40. Mum beamed. You're a charmer, she said. Come sit. We're just about to start. We did the usual. Toasts, jokes. Mum told an embarrassing story about Luke wetting the bed as a kid. Zoe laughed the loudest. So, Richard, she said at one point, tilting her head. How do you know Emma? He looked at her calmly. We met through someone we have in common, he said. Oh, she said. Anyone I'd know? I almost saw the moment she recognized him. It was a tiny flicker in her eyes, a millisecond of shock. Then she plastered on a polite smile. Maybe, he said. We'll see. We made it through the main course somehow. Then Mum tapped her glass. I just want to say thank you, she said, a bit tipsy. To all of you for being here. I know I fuss and nag, but it's only because I love you. And I especially want to thank Luke and Zoe for making life a bit more exciting, eh? She winked at Zoe. Zoe squeezed Luke's arm. We try, she said. Luke cleared his throat, stood up, then sat down again, then stood fully. I was going to say something tonight, he started. But before I do, there's something else that needs to be said, and I'm going to ask you all to listen. Please, no interrupting, no dismissing. Mum frowned. Luke, what on earth? He glanced at me. My cue. I stood up too. My legs felt like jelly, but my voice, when it came out, was steady. I know this is your birthday, Mum, I said. And I'm sorry to hijack it, but this is about the family, all of us, and it can't wait. Zoe laughed lightly. Is this an intervention because I make him post couple selfies? She joked. No, I said. This is about who you are, Zoe, and what you've been doing. Her smile froze. Excuse me? She said. I turned to Richard. Would you mind telling your story? I asked. He looked down the table at Zoe. His face softened for a second. Pity, maybe. Then he began. 2.5 years ago, he said, I was invited to a networking event in London. I met a young woman there, said she was starting a social media agency, said she just needed one person to believe in her. Mum's eyes flicked to Zoe. Dad's hand tightened around his fork. She was funny, clever, very charming, Richard went on. She told me about her difficult childhood. No support, no money. She said this business was her way out. She used words like family and partnership. I was lonely. My wife had died. I wanted to feel useful again. He paused. Over 6 months, I transferred her nearly £50,000, he said. She promised contracts, clients, returns. When I asked for paperwork, she sent me things my solicitor later told me were fake. And when I finally said I wanted my money back, she blocked my number, changed her email, told people I was stalking her. Mum's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. I sued her, Richard said simply. Not because I thought I'd get everything back, but because I needed some kind of proof I wasn't crazy. We settled. I got some of it. She walked away. No criminal record. Free to start again somewhere else. He looked at Zoe again. I told myself I'd never see her face again, he said, until Emma sent me a photo. Mum turned to me. Emma? I slid the printed court summary onto the table, towards my parents. Z Hart, also known as Zoe James, I said. Same age, same job description, same agency name, same pattern. Zoe let out a short, sharp laugh. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You've been stalking me, digging up old drama. He was obsessed with me. I told you, Luke, I had a stalker. This is him. He's twisting it because I wouldn't sleep with him. Richard flinched. That's not true, he said quietly. Mum flipped through the pages with shaking hands. There were parts highlighted. The emails where she called him Investor Babe. The one where she wrote, "We're going to be rich, you and me." She looked up at Zoe, eyes wide. Did you write these?" she asked. Zoe's jaw clenched. "I was young," she said. "I made mistakes, but I never forced him to do anything. He gave me that money. As gifts. He wanted to control me." "You promised returns," I said. "You sent fake documents." She whipped her head towards me. "You don't know what it was like," she said. "Men like him, like your ex, use girls like me all the time. I just learned to use them back." "By taking their pensions?" Dad said quietly. "That's not using back, that's theft." She ignored him. "Okay," she said, breathing hard. "So I messed up. People change. I moved. I started again. That doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong now." "Then why are you still seeing Jason?" Luke asked. His voice was calm, but his eyes were blazing. Zoe's head snapped towards him. "What?" He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and slid it across the table. I'd sent him the screenshot earlier. Jason's hotel bar status, the 2 glasses, the caption, the star tattoo. 3 weeks ago, Luke said. "Same weekend you told my mum you were at a wellness retreat with your girlfriends. You were with him in London." "He wanted to talk," she said quickly. "He said he wanted to make things right with Emma, pay her back. I was trying to help." I laughed, actual laughter. I couldn't help it. "Jason doesn't want to make anything right," I said. "He wants money. He always does." "You didn't tell me you were seeing him," Luke said. "You told me you barely knew him, that he was just some guy from parties." "I didn't want to upset you," she said. "I knew you all hated him. I thought if you knew I was talking to him, you'd freak out." "And asking Dad for 30 grand for your client project?" I asked. "Was that for you, or for both of you?" Mum's head whipped around. 30 what? Luke looked at her. "Zoe suggested you and Dad invest in her agency," he said. "Said it would set you up." Mum stared at Zoe. "Is that true?" she whispered. Zoe lifted her chin. "I was trying to help," she said. "You've said yourself you worry about retirement. I have opportunities. I wanted to share them. There's nothing wrong with that." "There is when you have this history," I said, tapping the court papers. "And when you're secretly meeting up with my cheating ex." "What do you want from me?" she exploded suddenly. "Do you want me to apologize for not being some perfect little saint? I did what I had to do to survive. I'm good for Luke. You've seen how happy he is. You just can't stand that he finally has someone who fits in." I met her gaze. "I can't stand watching my family walk into a trap I recognize," I said. "Because I've been in it." Luke took a breath. "I ignored things," he said quietly. "The way you talked about other men, the way you bragged about finessing free stuff. I thought it was just jokes, but you lied to my face, Zoe, about Jason, about this man, about your job." "I love you," she said, eyes filling with tears right on cue. "Isn't that worth anything?" He held her gaze. "If this is your idea of love," he said, "I don't want it." Her face twisted. The tears vanished as fast as they'd appeared. "You're all the same," she spat. "Happy to use me when it feels good. The second I have my own plan, I'm evil." "You mocked my daughter in my house," Mum said suddenly. Her voice shook, but there was a hard edge to it I'd rarely heard. "You laughed about her clothes, her job, her divorce. You did it in front of me, and I let you. I joined in. And all that time, you were hiding all this." She gestured at the papers. "That's not surviving. That's cruel. Zoe looked at each of us in turn, realized there was no sympathy left at the table. You're going to regret this, she said. All of you. You think you're better than me? You're pathetic. Boring. You'll be stuck here roasting chickens while I actually live. She grabbed her bag, shoved back her chair, and stalked out. The front door slammed a second later. The silence after she left was deafening. No one moved. No one picked up a fork. Finally, Dad exhaled. Well, he said. That explains a lot. Mum's hands started shaking. She pressed them flat on the table. I let her in, she whispered. I laughed with her. Emma, I laughed at you. Her voice broke. Tears spilled over. I'd never seen my mum cry like that. I pulled out a chair and sat down next to her. I know, I said quietly. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I thought you were just being you, overthinking, sensitive. I wanted Luke to have someone. I wanted nice photos, nice stories. I didn't want to see the truth. It's easier not to, I said. Trust me, I know. Luke stood up abruptly. I need air, he said, voice tight. He walked straight out into the garden. Dad cleared his throat. I'll make tea, he muttered, fleeing to the kitchen. I followed Luke outside after a minute. He was leaning against the fence, head back, eyes closed. You all right? I asked, even though I knew the answer. He laughed, a short, bitter sound. Not really, he said, but I will be. We stood there for a moment, listening to the distant sounds of other people's lives going on as normal. A dog barking, a car door slamming, someone's TV through an open window. Thank you, he said finally, for doing the boring, creepy digging. I smiled a little. You're welcome. Did it feel good? He asked, opening one eye to look at me. Be honest. When you put those papers on the table. I thought about it. Her face when she saw Richard. The way her voice went up an octave when she started to realize she'd lost control of the room. Yeah, I said honestly. A bit. After everything she said about me, after the way she made Mum laugh at my divorce like it was a joke, it felt fair. He nodded. It felt humiliating, he said, but the right kind of humiliation, the kind that lands where it's supposed to. We went back inside eventually. The rest of the night was a blur of half-drunk tea, leftover cake no one wanted, and Mum randomly bursting into tears and apologizing to me again. Richard left quietly after thanking me for inviting him. Hope it was worth the train fare, I said weakly at the door. He gave me a sad smile. If it saves your family from what mine went through, he said, it's priceless. In the weeks that followed, the fallout spread. Zoe tried to do damage control, of course. She sent Luke long voice notes about how I'd always hated her, how Richard was obsessed, how Jason was using her name to get attention. He blocked her after the third one. Jason texted me too. Bit harsh what you did to Zoe, don't you think? She's a good girl. You've always been so cold, Em. I didn't reply. I forwarded the message to Maya with a screenshot of my blocked screen and a thumbs up. For the first time, I didn't feel even a little bit tempted to defend myself to him. My mom changed in small ways. That's the thing no one tells you about this kind of drama. It doesn't magically fix family issues, but it cracks them open enough to see what's underneath. One Sunday, a month later, I turned up to lunch in jeans and a jumper. Old Emma would have braced for impact. This time, Mum just looked me up and down and said, "You warm enough?" That was it. When we were clearing plates, she touched my arm. "You've always been sharp," she said, searching for the word. "Not just with numbers, with people. I used to think that was you being difficult. Now I realize it's you, seeing things I don't want to see." I raised an eyebrow. That sounded suspiciously like a compliment. She laughed, wiping at her eyes. "Don't get used to it," she said. Then, softer, "I'm glad you didn't keep quiet, Emma, even if it ruined my birthday." We smiled at each other. It felt like something had shifted, Not fixed, but shifted. Dad started asking my opinion on financial things. His pension, his savings. "Just want to make sure I'm not getting Zoe'd," he said once with a wince. "That's not going to become a verb," I said. "I won't allow it." Luke. Took longer. Heartbreak is weird. Even when you know the person hurt you, there are still good memories tangled in there. He started seeing a counselor. He told me after his second session. "Apparently, I like people who make me feel like a hero," he said, "because deep down I still feel like the useless little brother who messed everything up." "You're not useless," I said. "You're just trusting." "Same thing these days," he muttered. Then, more seriously, "Next time I bring someone home, you're allowed to do a background check." "I was going to do it anyway," I said. He smiled properly then. "I know." As for me, something in me settled. For years, I'd been the quiet one at that table, the sensible sister, the one they teased for being too serious, too single, too work-obsessed, the one whose pain, my divorce, my financial mess, my humiliation, was a story they told around dinner, not something real. Zoe walked in and thought she'd found an easy target. A family desperate for excitement, a mom desperate to show off, a brother desperate to be loved, a boring sister she could push to the side with a few well-placed jokes. She miscalculated. She assumed my silence meant weakness. She didn't realize that while she was talking, I was listening. While she was bragging, I was taking notes. While she was laughing at me in my parents' dining room, I was quietly building a case. I'm not loud. I'm not glamorous. I don't turn heads when I walk into a bar. But I know how to read numbers. I know how to spot patterns. I know how to follow a trail until the truth can't hide anymore. That's my kind of power. So when they mocked me at dinner, when my mom laughed with Zoe about my divorce, when my dad stayed silent, when my brother looked away, I wanted to disappear. I wanted to shrink into my chair and never come back. Instead, I went home, opened my laptop, and started typing her name. And by the next time we all sat at that table, I was ready. They mocked me at dinner until I exposed her secret life. Now, when we have dinner at my parents' house, the jokes feel different, softer, kinder. And every so often, when someone says something that lands a bit too hard, there's a pause, a glance in my direction, an unspoken reminder. Remember what happened when we laughed at Emma and ignored her instincts? No one says it out loud. They don't need to. They already saw what happens when the quiet one finally stands up, clears her throat, and lays the truth out on the table like evidence in a courtroom. The laughter stops, the lies crack, and the person who thought she was running the story realizes, too late, that she was only ever a chapter in someone else's.